Call the meeting to order. It's August 31st, 2017, 9:33 a.m. First on the agenda, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 24th Legislative and Rules Committee, put forward by Supervisor Montesi, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? It was unanimous. Next item, we have two items before us. One is a referral from Criminal Justice and Public Safety in regards to the suicide watch requirements with the Warren County Correctional Facility. It's being looked at as an unfunded mandate, which is having a negative impact on the county budget. And there is a proposed resolution. You'll see it in an attached item. It's a resolution verbiage suggested by Sheriff York. And I believe you all have a copy of that.
Yeah.
So let me open up this item for discussion. I don't see Sheriff York present, but I don't know if it's going to require a lot of debate on this one. Unfunded mandate situation pertaining to the suicide watch requirements. Discussion. Supervisor McDevitt?
I just have a question, just trying to better understand what the actual guidelines are from the state. So if an individual is admitted to the jail and is addicted, opiate, is the issue that someone may very well be going through withdrawal as a result. They should be watched for a period of time.
The way I understand this, issue...
It's not that. I think Bud's right outside. He just got here. But I don't think that... I think it's so... If somebody comes in and expresses a suicidal tendency, I think they've expanded it. So you have to do one-on-one coverage, I believe, but he should speak. Sean's right there. Sean can speak.
Sean, you're on the hot seat.
You're on the hot seat, Sean.
But the word opiate is in his resolution. Okay.
Right, but I think that's
I think
part
it's
of it,
alcohol, too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's under Sheriff Lamore. Would you please explain what are the New York State mandates in regards to suicide watch for us?
Okay, and I passed this is just part of what I handed out back at the July Criminal Justice Committee meeting. There was a mandate, we call it a mandate, they call it a letter that came out on December 21st of last year. The change in constant supervision that came out as of December 21st last year caused us to have to provide constant supervision to more inmates. And the people they included under this new regulation or new mandate, if you will, were people that were suffering, who might be suffering withdrawal from opiates, synthetic opiates, which were immediately ingested 12 hours prior to a jail admission. So that was something new. Also, it applies to people that have a dependency on alcohol who may suffer from DTs. So that's something new. We ran some numbers back in July before we had our committee meeting, and from January to July of 2017, we had 970 shifts of constant supervision. That's a lot. In the same period in 2016, we had 543 shifts. So you can see there's been a dramatic increase just in that time period from January to the time this report was ran in July.
I'm sorry, Sheriff, I did not hear both those numbers.
When I ran this report back towards the third week in July, we were at 970 shifts.
970.
During the same period in 2016, we were at 543.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Did you break it down any further in terms of
alcohol,
shifts, yeah,
opiates, or any of
opiates,
that?
yeah,
No, he did
okay.
not. No, we just wanted to have some raw numbers to be able to explain to the committee why the overtime was increasing.
How do you determine, you know, what level of opiates or alcohol that the guy has? I
They
mean,
do when somebody is brought into the facility, before they are put into a cell or into a housing unit, they go through a screening process. It's through that screening process they get the information, and based on that information, they provide the appropriate supervision as required.
Related to that question, is it strictly limited to alcohol and opiates? I mean, wonder if somebody was taking a drug that was inducing depression, and it wasn't an opiate. Would they still be under a watch as well?
I believe there's other things that would qualify for watches as well. As far as what type of drugs, above and beyond us, I couldn't honestly give you an answer to that.
So you're not arguing against the watches, you're just saying they need to be funded by New York State.
Absolutely. This is nothing more than an unfunded mandate that's been passed along to every county in New York State.
All right, Supervisor Bramer, did you have a question?
Yes. I think that the wording here needs to change a little bit then, because it doesn't exactly say that. But my other question is, what do you think about asking the state for funding for mental health for inmates?
I think that would be a positive thing. I don't know if you're aware of it, but back in the 1960s, New York State, or not New York State, the United States as a whole had over 600,000 beds for the mentally ill. As of 2017, we have less than 36,000 beds for the mentally ill. What has happened? The treatment, the things that were out there to get people well and make them whole in life, they're not out there, they're not as available as they used to be. What has happened because of that? Jails, prisons have become the dumping grounds for the mentally ill.
But they're not getting mental health treatment when they're in, say, our jail.
They get mental health treatment. Is it as good, or is it going to get them as well if they were out perhaps in the private sector going to a Four Winds or some type of dedicated facility? I couldn't tell you that it is as good as that.
But they do have something.
They do receive mental health treatment.
Okay.
So, are you suggesting, Supervisor Bramer, that the wording be, instead of opiate, it would be a substance that might require immediate and constant supervision?
Or just, determining whether an individual needs the level of supervision.
But again, just to
one-on-one.
clarify that
Yeah.
we're talking about not just opiates.
Right.
And also to clarify, we're not talking about or opposed to the supervision. We just think that the state should fund this activity. Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
Supervisor
Chairman.
Sokol?
Under Sheriff, this is a statewide
Yes.
unfunded mandate?
Yeah, it was put out by the Commissioner of Corrections.
Okay, so have you checked with other counties to see what they are doing? Are they on top of this like we are, or are they absorbing
Myself-
costs? Are they?
I have not reached out to any other county. I'm not aware if our corrections captain who runs the facility has.
It just seemed if we all ganged up, so to speak.
I think together as a group of counties, or a consortium, if you will, of
Right.
counties, would have a much larger voice than Warren County per se.
Yeah, Supervisor Leggett?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, on actions like this, you know, I always like to keep them simply stated and not get compounded. And if I understand from Under Sheriff Flamery saying that because of the new ruling, we have nearly doubled the amount of suicide watches in the past year, that this addresses that new ruling specifically. So to keeping it specific as coming out of the sheriff's office there, that it's for the opioids, it might be the best way to go. And then we can always come up with other resolutions.
Yeah, well, we're not opposed to supervision with somebody that appears to be under the opiate influence. We don't want to go there either. We support the supervision of somebody who would has a potential for suicide. We don't want that act to take place with that individual, here or otherwise. So I think in agreement with you, we have to make clear that our opposition, or that our request, our desire, is that the state fund this. And not put the burden of funding this on the counties.
Correct.
So we have to make that clear. So you want that wording clearer?
No, it
I
looks
think
clear to
it's
me.
okay.
No, I'm supporting the wording as it stands.
Oh, as it stands.
Unless there might be some
Oh, well, I don't know, yeah. This is what I do.
Yeah. Go ahead. Or if it's okay with Chairman.
Maybe we don't, you could correct me, but in the third paragraph where it says, in the second line there, persons who are newly admitted to the jail who are suspected of being, can we say being suicidal, be immediately put in constant supervision? Does it need to say that they're suicidal due to drugs, alcohol, opioids specifically?
The chairman's memorandum was very specific as to who falls under this now. So I would mirror the language that they put in their memorandum.
You have that?
I don't have it with me, I can certainly get it for the committee.
Yeah.
I think we need to be careful, because the correction facilities are already have to do certain things through the screening process when an inmate comes in, and we're doing those. And you know, that's sort of why we changed medical providers to offer more in-house services. So I agree with Supervisor Leggett. Leave it the way it is, and we'll send this along, and then maybe we can have it taken to NISAC also and send it out, or inter-county saying, you know, we could send it out to our colleagues. But I agree with Supervisor Leggett. I think it's appropriate, just the way it's written. It came right from a directive from the Commissioner of Corrections. The effect on us is overtime. We're not saying we're opposed to overtime, but there's a cost when you send out these directives, and you can't always pass it on to the counties, the state. Maybe they should have looked at I don't think it's a negative impact, but I mean, they should have looked at the financial impact on the counties first before they did this. And maybe they did. Maybe we'll get a response back that they've already done that. But I'm for leaving it and sending it out the way it's written.
Okay, I just have one more thing. At the very end, should we say hereby petitions rather than we will forthwith petition? Maybe that's a question for Amanda. Sorry. At the very end where it says we're petitioning the governor and the state, I mean, is that a separate thing that we do, or don't we just send this thing, this resolution?
I think there's some things that are different than what we normally put in our resolution, and when they go to the county attorney's office, they may
Okay.
just clean it up to the formatting,
Okay.
but it won't change the intent of the resolution. It'll just kind of be worded more like our typical.
Yeah, thanks.
So,
Fine.
yes.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with the resolution as it
Okay.
passed by the county attorney's office. as well.
Motion made by Supervisor Sokol, seconded by Supervisor Montesi. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those who are in favor of moving this resolution forward, now does it go to the board next? And it'll go to the September meeting?
Yep.
For the board support? All right, moving it forward, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Any nays? Just make sure. But I think everyone said aye. It's unanimous. Motion passes. Next item. This is a referral from the Board of Supervisors. It gives a little history. It's in reference to the 911 surcharge revenue distributions. That's the main topic here. 911 surcharge revenues distributions. In two board resolutions passed in 2009, there were resolutions, asking that the county should receive a greater share of those revenues to help carry the cost of the county's 911 system. And then, in 2012, the Board of Supervisors had another resolution. It referred to the 1991 New York State legislative enactment, which had a monthly surcharge of 70 cents per cell phone per month. And then, in 2002, that was increased to $1.20 per cell phone per month. The issue is that the state is collecting $2 million, and that the counties are seeing a small portion of that in return. So you will see a resolution that is asking that the formula be changed so that more of those 911 revenues would be diverted towards the counties, helping the counties to defray their 911 financial burdens. And that there were two resolutions before our state legislature. In the Senate was 5909B, and in the Assembly it was 8489A. So, I'm not sure what the specifics are. If there's $2 million in revenues being collected through the 911 tax on cell phones
In our county.
in our county, then what are we asking? That all of it be returned to the county or Sheriff Lamore, or under Sheriff Lamore?
Can I just pass this out?
Yes.
This is from the New York State Association of Counties. This is the most recent report they had available. I would urge everybody that's here to look at this. This truly gives you a complete picture of what goes on in New York State with the 911 system. Yeah, thanks. New York State has a surcharge, and of the $1.20 surcharge that they collect, right off the bat, 50 cents of that $1.20 that they collect goes into the general fund for New York State. The other 70 cents goes to a variety of public safety programs, including state agencies, supplant general fund appropriations. In other words, they're taking money that was initially dedicated to support the public safety answering points. New York State decides what they do with the money now. If you go back about 8-9 years ago, we'd receive about $30,000 support every year for the PSAP Center. And it was through a grant process. We had to submit our expenditures and justify we were requesting whatever we were awarded. Over time, that has changed. We're in the third year of a PSAP sustainment program. With the first year, I believe we were given $174,000. The next year was like $170,000, and I think this year was around $170,000 as well. So, just to correct it, it's not $2 million that the state has taken in, it's closer to $200 million a year. So of that $200 million, they're giving Warren County basically $170,000. In addition to that, what the state has done, and through the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, they put out these other grants. And we are forced to compete with other municipalities, basically to get money that should have been coming to us originally. We don't think it's fair. We think the state's stealing the money. The sheriff has been very outspoken on this in the past. You can go through the charts, and it has all the numbers, who was awarded what money and what year. It's all right in the report. So to think that New York State takes in close to $200 million, we'll say in 2017, and look at how much they turn around and give out back out to the municipalities. And of that money, how much of it is stuff that you have to compete for? Fight with your neighbor, Washington County or Saratoga County, to get a piece of the pie, if you will. One of the things that recently changed is they passed a law, because there's a loophole, that if you bought a prepaid wireless device, like a track phone or some of these other devices that are out there, you were exempt. You didn't have to pay a 911 surcharge. They recently enacted legislation where each municipality or each county can now enact a law, and I've already spoken with our county attorney, Brian Rickenback, and we're moving towards that, of collecting 30 cents per device on the sale of those devices. So we should see a little bit more money locally, but the $1.20 the state collects, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Supervisor Bramer? So we're talking about two things here. One is we need to enact a local law if it's so desired. Two, which I guess is enabled by state legislation for counties to do this, to collect 30 cents for track phones and the like as a monthly charge for each of those type of cell phones, as well as your regular non-track phone. Is that correct?
It's on prepaid wireless devices.
Prepaid.
So if you already have a phone from Verizon, a contract device, we're already collecting a wireless surcharge on that.
So, okay, so that's one issue.
Is it a one-time 30-cent thing on these prepaid?
I was told it's a one-time. So when you look at other things you're paying every month, it's 30 cents supposedly when you at the transaction point.
Supervisor Sokol?
Chairman, thank you. At last board meeting, Amanda, maybe you will recall the resolution. Remember Brian spoke to this? Didn't we pass something?
Yeah, there is I would think it's the same thing, but on finance agenda, Brian's going to talk about that proposed local law. We enacted the resolution for the public hearing. That'll be at the September board meeting. And I'm just looking at the proposed local law number 3 that's in the finance agenda, and it speaks to a 30-cent per month charge on wireless communications device in service during any part of the month. So I think this may be what Sean's talking about. That's what you acted on last month, and we'll be hearing about some more in finance and then finalizing in September.
So do we need to approve moving it forward in Rules and Legislative and Rules Committee, or it's already?
It's already on the finance agenda.
All right, so maybe we'll just have a motion of support for that. Yes, go on.
Yeah.
Supervisor Brock?
One of the problems we have as part of our county is rural, is all the money we have to spend on, being able for our police and whatever to talk up in the northern part of our county. That money from 911 could be used for that if we were getting enough. Is that right?
If they were to fund the PSAP as we feel it should be funded, it would help out with that, yes.
Right. So what I'm thinking is, when Albany looks at all the different counties, there's some that are rural, some that are not, and we need to differentiate ourselves, that we need more, that in a sense, because the upper part of our county is rural, they're sort of underfunded because they don't have the, because of the high cost, low population, they're not getting the same kind of communication services that we have down here in the Queensbury, Glens Falls area. So I was thinking maybe we should try to sell that part of it too, that it's more than just a money issue, it's also a safety issue for people in rural areas.
All right, well, I'm not sure if that's the issue before us tonight, although it's a legitimate
So it's
issue.
money, that's why I asked him about the money from 911. If we had more money, we could use that to fund it.
So the 30 cents for prepaid wireless devices, would the 30 cents in total come back to the county?
It does. But the
So-
one thing I don't think anybody here realizes is, and we've looked into this over the last several years, when you pay your bill with Verizon, or it could be any company, but we'll just say Verizon for today, you pay your wireless surcharge. It is totally on the providers to voluntarily turn over that money. We have looked at auditing the major providers of wireless service, and we have found that the comptroller's office has no authority to do audits on the carriers. We have talked to the Attorney General's office, and they have struggled with getting information. We have also found that, and I know maybe Mike Swan can speak to this better than I can, that some of the stuff that they receive is handwritten, which in this day and age is quite unbelievable. There seems to be a third-party clearinghouse because a lot of these vendors, their funds are remitted through another business, and we have to figure out who it's actually coming from. And I know, Mike, you send over spreadsheets, and it's not easy to read and figure out who's sending us what.
It's a mess. It really is. It's a joke the way it's all administered, the way the money comes to us. Like Todd said, over $200 million is collected. We have no idea whether that's actual or, whether it's an accurate amount. We've talked to the sheriff about it, we've talked to the controller's office about it. It's a mess, number one. Number two, the state is taking a tremendous amount of money right off of the top. And I think that's one of the things that you're talking about now, Sean, is this county needs to stand up and do something and say, hey, look, our state legislature, you guys are ripping us off, we need to get more of this money. $170-some thousand we got out of $200 million is ludicrous.
Yes, Supervisor Simpson?
Sean, I'm just trying to be clear on the numbers. If they typically collect over 200 million or, over 250 million, and from the other charts, in the year 15, 16, so would you say the total grant back is almost 60 million out of 200
Well, I think,
million, or is there other programs?
well, Supervisor Simpson, I believe it actually shows on one of these pages what they've given out as a total in each year. Okay, on page 6, in the center of the page, it breaks it down by years, 2014 to 2015. The SICG grants, they awarded $50 million in the year 14-15.
Out of the 250.
Where did the other $150 million go? And you can see it back in 2010, 2011, they only awarded $20 million. Only 10% of roughly what they're taking in.
They can't tell you what the other funds are going for? The general fund.
And I know the New York State Association of Counties, I know the New York State Sheriff's Association, and I believe there's a 911 consortium as well, have all stepped up over the years and addressed this and trying to get this changed, but to date, nothing has changed.
It's not even like it's earmarked for Homeland Security or anything. It goes right into the general fund.
Sean, just a question on page 9. It says Public Safety Answering Point. The Division of Homeland Security awards grants funding to counties across the state. So, like it says in 12, we got 425,000. Is that?
We did. Back in 2012, we applied for a grant, and that was to refresh our 911 system, both our main system and the system that...
So we got that money.
Right. So just the cost with Verizon to swap out our system was around $400,000. And they did give us that money then.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you. It sounds like we need to do another resolution similar to the 2009 one, but we can't say that we'd like all the money back because they're already, per page 4 of this, they're taking the 50 cents. So I would say we can ask for all of the remaining 70 cents. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to give it to
Yeah,
us,
that's
but
one question I have. What formula are we advocating for? I mean, how much
I'd
of the
say we ask for all 70 cents of every dollar collected. It's supposed to go towards
Well, it's
public
$1.20,
safety.
right, per month, per cell phone, per non-prepaid cell phone, because we
Right.
have the difference between the prepaid plan cell phones and the non-prepaid cell phones. So,
Right.
so I think that this, from what I'm hearing from this committee, is that we would support, and that's all it would be is a resolution of support, a 30-month, 30 cents per month surcharge on the prepaid plan wireless devices.
Yes.
We would support that. The other issue is that for the other type of cell phones, the non-prepaid type of cell phone, it's $1.20 a month. Now, out of that $1.20 a month that each non-prepaid cell phone owner pays in this county, we would like more of that money to come back to this county. Okay, and you're saying all of it?
All of the available dollars that are supposed to go towards public safety. Not dollars, but, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see if that's the will of the committee at large here. Are we saying that we would like to advocate that all of the $1.20 that is paid by non-prepaid cell phone users in Warren County should come back to Warren County? Is that what we're saying?
No,
I
I'm
don't think all of the
saying,
120 she's saying.
yes,
The remaining...
only 70 cents out of the $1.20 is what I'm asking for.
She just wants to see the way it was supposed to be set up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then that, if the state agreed to that, then the distribution would be based on how our numbers for our phones? I mean, it wouldn't be broken down equally to all counties, it would be based on, I guess,
Sales in the county, is that what you're... I
sales
have no
or,
idea.
the number of phones or whatever.
Which one are we talking about?
The $1.20 money.
$1.20, that should be based on how much is collected on the account.
Right.
So,
How much comes back?
Mike, the state knows how much was sent from this county?
I don't know. I can't answer that question, I have no idea.
Supervisor
Do
McDivitt?
we know how many 911 calls are generated via cell phone, and how many
Versus
calls are
landline?
generated versus landline?
I don't have that information with you today. I can tell you that the number of landlines are diminishing. Traditionally, homes would have a house phone, if you will, a landline. Nowadays, that's not necessarily the norm. More and more people are just going to having a cell phone. Your kid has a cell phone.
The reason I ask the question is it would kind of give you maybe a quick point of comparison in terms of amount of revenue generated. If you took a $1.20 per cell call, 35 cents per landline, in general terms, you could say, well, this is the kind of surcharge revenue is generated via the volume of 911 calls.
I know if it gives you some clarity on the picture, that through the budget process, we received, I think it was around $130,000 through the wireless devices, and maybe it was $120 through landline devices.
Okay.
Because we're seeing landlines go down.
Right.
We know there's more wireless devices going up. Why aren't we seeing those revenues go up on the wireless side?
Okay.
Supervisor Bramer?
I just, in response to Supervisor Montesi's comment, I don't think we need to say that, we don't need to say at this point how the state is allocating it among the counties, but just to make sure that the money is coming back to the counties, because right now it looks like, we're getting, the counties in general, are really getting money stolen from us. It's just disappearing at the state. That's aside from the 50 cents that the state is saying they're taking. Then the other 70 cents, it looks like, we're only still getting a small percentage of that. No? I mean, maybe in the end, Warren County won't come out better. Maybe we should just leave it be.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, because there's a lot of counties who are much bigger than Warren, with a lot more cell phones, and maybe their 911 systems, do we want the money that the county pays the only money that comes back to the county, I guess is what we're thinking. All right, so Supervisor Brock?
I just wanted to add my, this little bit of information. I think we had a next door neighbor that moved to Florida, and we got a call. He had Giants tickets that were sent to his old house instead of down in Florida. And up on the ID thing came a 518 number. So his cell phone was the same as what he had up here, and now he's living down in Florida. So I don't know how phone companies are going to be able to differentiate, you know, one from the other, the way things are becoming so mixed up. So when we do this, I don't, you know, like you were saying with the audit, I don't know how I'm sure there's a ton of money just because there's now these new new area codes, people moving around and so forth.
Well, it makes
That's
me
just
wonder,
for information.
is there a model resolution out there that other counties are using in reference to this issue that we can borrow from? No? Supervisor Bramer?
Well, okay, so I just did some quick math. So 70 cents of the 120 has just come back for public safety purposes. So that's 60%. 60% of 200 million is 120 million. 120 million is supposed to be going to public safety. And in this last year, the county's only got 10 million. So
Plus what other grants they've issued, the SICG grants, would be on top of that.
do you know what that number is? Is it
That would be
reaching
back on, page
100
6.
million? Oh, 50. So 10, so 60, so we're getting like half. We, the counties, are getting half. And it sounds like there is an inter-county resolution that we could reference.
Yeah, well, a suggestion has just been made that we allow Under Sheriff Lamore to work with Sheriff York and see if they can provide some verbiage of a resolution. I think there's a lot of support for the cause, but the issue is in having some refinement of the facts and the information and what we're really advocating for. In general, we're advocating that we get a greater return.
But I do think they already have this at NISAC, and they have the standing committee, and you could forward it on to them for their September swear away. Somebody's going. Is anybody going?
Well, what I'm suggesting, if maybe we could get a resolution that's a little bit more lucid before this committee next month to consider.
Okay.
I can bring that back. I'll try to bring that back.
Frank?
Yes, Frank?
Shouldn't this be split equally amongst the 911 answering centers statewide? I mean, it's collected statewide, and the idea is to have the communication statewide, and it should be split evenly among the 911 centers.
Well, see, I'm not so
If
sure.
one has two, then they get twice as much, but that's my opinion.
Well, I don't know if we want to split equally between the counties, because the next gen 911, from what I understand, might be a regional approach to 911, where you're involving several counties. And we certainly want to put money into the next gen 911 system.
But in essence, we're taxing our people twice, I mean, because we're not getting the revenue for what's being collected from them. And then we turn around and tax them in the property tax, or use their sales tax to make sure our 911 system works. So we're taxing our folks twice. You know, maybe that needs to be part of it. Not taxing people twice.
3 times.
Well, can I ask you and Sheriff York to see if you can, you've heard the issues, if you can put together something for us to consider for next month? And it would give us time to read this handout that you gave us?
Certainly.
But
I'll discuss it with the sheriff.
we also should allow Claudia and Rachel, whoever's going to NISAC, to advocate for us, or bring it up at least in one of those standing committees out there.
I know Rachel's on public safety, so
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
Because they're gonna be out there with the rest of the county, you guys, ladies can...
Guys, it's fine.
Yeah, and maybe the county's working, NICEAG's working on hammering out some language that might be helpful for us. Okay, so the only one, yeah, so we gotta get going. The only thing, is there support for the 30 cents per month surcharge on prepaid plan wireless devices here? If so, just a motion to say we do support that. Motion being put forward by Supervisor Sokol, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Anything else be brought before this committee today, either from the committee or from the public? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Montesi, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. He moved. We're adjourned.
I do.